The purpose of this video is to assist individuals who are trying to do employment research and may need access to different types of tools. The first thing I'm going to start out with is a resource that is available for individuals inside of North Carolina. I think it is really easy to get started with those particular sites if you reside there. And if you are an individual who doesn't live in North Carolina, I would recommend that you reach out to your public library, find out if you have a comparable resource. Oftentimes you do. Secondly, I would ask that if you are in school, going to a university, or if you have access to a place that you graduated from and you are an alumni, oftentimes you also have access to those library resources as well. I know with one of mine, fortunately, I'm able to access their resources online and I don't have to pay anything. However, for another college that I graduated from, they charge. So reach out to your librarians, find out if they have resources available at no charge or at a very low cost for you to be able to find. And what I'm going to do in this tutorial is I'll cover a variety of different resources, not just for North Carolinians, but also for individuals who need access who may not live in North Carolina. So one of the first things I'm going to do is say, if you live in North Carolina, I would highly recommend that you go to Google and type in NC Live. When you press enter, it's going to show you some recommendations. I would recommend that you look here for NC Live homepage, but please click Login. By clicking on this, you'll notice in the first area for step 1, it's going to ask you to select your library. You will do this based on either A, your county, or B, based on the school or area that has the resources you need. So for example, I go to Wake Tech, and because I have access to the Wake Technical Community College database, I could log in here. However, if you are a citizen of Wake County and you don't have access to another resource, I highly recommend that you select your county, such as Wake County Libraries. If you live in Durham, choose Durham, and so forth. So I chose Wake County Public Libraries, and I'm going to click on Next. The screen's going to ask you for your barcode number. So either A, you have to make sure that you have been to the library at some point in person and gotten a library card. The good thing is, if you have a library card, you have a barcode number, and if you have not assigned a PIN number, the system will allow you to click Local Library, and now you can navigate to whichever library you would like to contact. So if it is East Regional Library, you would click that. And what you would do is you would dial the phone number. Make sure that the person you speak with is familiar with the fact that you want to add a PIN number to your library card, and that's all you have to do because you'll do it over the phone. At this point, I'm going to go back to this screen. It's asking for my barcode number, so I'm going to pause the screen in a moment. I'm going to enter this, and I'm going to type my PIN number, and then you can see what will happen from there. At this point, it takes you to the first homepage area of NC Live. Our goal here is to find employment resources to help you with the job search. So to get started, if it were me and I were you, one of the things I would do is make sure you look into the middle page. One thing I need to say as a side note is you may have noticed that the NC Knows chat popped up. I have not had success with this in the past. However, I do understand that this particular feature has gotten better, and many of the librarians are available to answer your questions. For me, I'm going to just click Close. I don't need that right now. I'm going to turn my attention back to By Subject in the middle of the page. Because we're looking for employment references, I highly recommend that you click on Career, Jobs, and Test Preparation. In this area, what I would like to focus on are a couple of different things. If you've ever taken classes with me, I've discussed a host of resources that were available in NC Live. However, I would like to say that many of the resources that you may be familiar with in this database, they tend to expire at the end of the subscription, and each subscription normally lasts about 3 years. and the library system goes back and they reevaluate what needs to be here and what they need to modify. And some tools may become cost prohibitive and therefore resulting in some type of change and a different selection of databases. In this case, one of the tools that they have available is Hoover's Company Profiles. So if you're trying to do employment research, what you can do is look over here to the right. You'll notice that they point out that they have well over 40,000 companies that you can do research on. You'll be able to get different types of information dealing with financials, industry data, and company overviews. When we get on the site, we'll be able to go into a little more detail. To get started, I would recommend that you click Hoover's Company Profiles. So one of the tools that you can use is this particular one in order to do research on a company. Please keep in mind that if I were to scroll down here towards the middle, it points out that the database has more than 40,000 companies that are public as well as non-public, and they focus on over 225,000 essential executives to those particular companies. And they also say that Hoover's is one of those particular resources that gives in-depth company data, industry analysis. You get to find out information about where a company is located, their financial information, their competitors, top officers, and then a little bit more information. If you look under subject coverage, I would recommend that you take a look at the different fields that you're likely to see across each of the reports that you access in this database. Now, here, first thing is click on full text, and I would recommend that you click in the box. I'm going to leave this on basic search. If you need an advanced search, you can use that in order to get more filtering criteria involved in your search. In this case, I'm going to just keep it simple. And I found that if I were to type in a company name, for example, UPS, if I used United Parcel Service, in fact, let me back up. Let me try just UPS. If I did just UPS and hit enter, I might run into some issues because I'm really looking for United Parcel Service. And as I scroll down, I notice they have UPS Freight. I don't want that. I notice that they have UPS Capital Corporation, UPS Store. And as I keep going down, I still don't see United Parcel Service. So you may find that you may have to modify some of the search criteria depending on what you're looking for. In this case, I'm going to change that to United Parcel Service. And you'll notice that you get some type of search assistance as you type. When you think you see what you're looking for, you can just click on that. So in this case, I'm going to select United Parcel Service. And I get excited because I notice that their information shows up here at the top. And what you can do in my area, what I prefer to do, is to just click Link to Full Text. And I'm going to click on that. And this particular information opens up, so I'm going to select to enlarge the screen. If you look over here to the left, you'll notice that these are some of the navigation areas. You can use that as a guide, or you can look in the middle of your screen, and some of the information tends to be present. I find that oftentimes I may get more in-depth information if I use these side navigational tools. So in this area, you can see it gives you an overview of the company, gives you the financial data. It tells you if you want more information, you can click More Financials. And by doing that, it really jumps into that particular section, so you'll have more of that data. I'm going to go back by hitting the backspace on my keyboard. If you want to look at their competitors, you can actually start building a competitor list for yourself and click on Full Competitor List. And you can see who some of their competitors are. And then at the end of each one of these sections, you can select Continue to the next section, and you'd read that information. And now I'm going to go to Continue to Financials Quarterly. And really, to me, it looks like I'm at the end of the report, so I don't have more options. Basically, if you start off on that first page and you just navigate it to the bottom, you'd realize you need to go back up to the top and click on Overview, which is where we were in the beginning. And now you can see it'll let you continue to the history. So if you were on the Overview page, it talks about some of the geographical reach information, the operations, sales and marketing, financial performance, and so forth. So you can go through there, read that, and then click Continue to History to get more data. So you can use this as a navigational tool. You can click Continue to History in order for you to get more information. At this point, I'm going to click X to close out of this screen. One of the things that I want to point out is that if you find that you want more information, you can come over here to the right side and you can use this sort results by search criteria. You have that option, and if you want other filtering criteria, or if you're looking for more information, you can use these tools over here to the right to narrow your search results, and that can be very helpful depending on what you're looking for, and it'll allow you to get more specific information. So that's it for the Hoover's company profiles. A second tool that I want to focus on right now deals with the Learning Express library, and this particular tool has a wealth of information for different individuals, whether you are a child or more specifically an adult. I find that it can be very helpful for those who are adults for the job search if they're trying to get help with resumes or cover letters. Oftentimes we may need to improve our math skills or our grammar, and so this will be an excellent resource. So one of the things that you could do is click on Learning Express Library. And by going in here, you would need to do one of two things. First, if you have an account with this site, you can just click Log In. If you don't, all you would do is select Register, and it's a very simple process for you to fill in these fields, especially the ones that are asterisks because they are mandatory, and you would create your account. In this case, I already have an account, so I'm going to just go back to the first screen and I'm going to click on Login. I'm going to pause the screen just so I can fill in my information. Now that I've had success in logging in, it welcomes me to the top. What you'll notice is that this screen has a home area, has different centers. So if you were really wanting to focus on the Career Center, you could just click to navigate there. If you wanted to do adult learning, you could do that. You'll notice that there's a section for college preparation, College Center, and School Center. And then if you need additional assistance, they have different videos that can give you tutorials, as well as other information on how to use this site. In the middle, you'll notice that here is another video that you're able to use that'll give you some insight about what is available here. And in the middle section, this to me aligns with the information that you see here for the all centers. So you'll notice that if you hover, as an individual or an adult wanting more information about math, reading or writing, or about becoming a U.S. citizen, this is a source that you can actually use. So if I clicked on the Adult Learning Center, I can quickly see that I can focus on my math, getting better at reading, I can improve my writing, speaking, and grammar, as well as become a U.S. citizen. And so whatever section you're interested in, all you do is just click on that one, such as becoming a better reader. And what you'll notice is, over to the left, it will give you the opportunity, of course you can search, but you can actually get resources in different formats. You can get those resources that are available as a test, an ebook, and then tutorials. The tutorials are actually courses that are available online, and they have in the built-in drills and practice tests so that you can make sure that you're really learning the information. The beautiful part is that unlike a classroom, you can go back and take these particular sections over and over again, which can be very helpful to help you improve your skills. Over on the left side, you'll notice that there's a math skills area. Here's focusing. So if I did that, you can see that it gives you the opportunity to look at ebooks. You can do practice tests as well as tutorials like the full-blown course that we talked about earlier. And then as I look a little bit further down on the left, you can see here's reading. Here's your improving your writing, grammar, and speaking. And then for those that are wanting to focus on getting their green card or becoming a U.S. citizen, they have information for that area as well. What I'm going to do is go back to the home area, and this takes us back to the very beginning of where we were before. Now, to get started, let's say that you're trying to do an employment search, which is what we were focused on. I would recommend that you hover over all centers and select Career Center. When you click on this particular resource, you see that you can get more information to learn about a career, and I'm going to click on that. And again, the resources available to you deal with tests, ebooks, and tutorials. You'll notice that on the left, the information that is available to you apply to these particular fields. If these fields are not of interest to you, you can continue on, and now you can say, okay, is there some type of entrance exam that I need to prepare for as it relates to a specific area? By clicking on that, you can see that data. When you click on prepare for an occupation exam, you'll notice that this is the information that's available in the database. If you were trying, for example, to do a prepare for a teaching certification, then you'll notice that they'll tell you what kind of tests they have available. If you were trying to join the military or become an officer, they have different electronic resources available for that. If you were trying to do job search in the workplace, you'll notice that if you click on that particular section, over to the right, it's going to tell you what tools they have available so that you can research those areas. And if they have additional resources, again, all of that will be available in here. If you want to click Build Your Workplace Skills, you'll notice that there is a separate section that is present for you to be able to improve yourself. One thing I do need to say is that if I were to go back one more time and click on the Improve Your Job Search, Interviewing, and Networking Skills, I think it's essential that you realize that when you click over here to the left, you can find other subcategories or subsections by looking in the middle, and you can click on those in order to help you get started going in the direction that is essential for you to improve as an individual. Now, over to the right, you'll notice that there is this area that says Create Great Resumes and Cover Letters. You'll notice that that is a resource that is available in this database as well. And so they help you with those skills as well as social networking in order for you to improve for your job search. So I wanted to recommend that particular resource because it can be very helpful as it relates to your job search. Okay, so I've gone back to the main screen for NC Live, and what you can do is you can either just go back to the top of your address bar and type in NC Live, or you can just keep hitting the backspace button on your keyboard until you get back to the section that you desire. What I'm going to pay attention to here is Occupational Outlook Handbook. I find this to be a very helpful website, and so in this case what I'm going to do is just open this up in a different tab. I like this resource because it has been around for a long time and is tied to the database for Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So it's one that I think each person should be very familiar with. And first off, it starts off on the publications page. And what I want to show you is this. Over to the left, you have these different occupational groups that you do have the opportunity to explore. If you look over in the middle, you'll notice that you can actually choose occupations based on their pay. So if you're looking for a job that hits a specific salary range and you want to know what those occupations are, you can click on those and say, okay, I'm going to use these as my filtering criteria. I want a job, for example, that's paying between $55,000 to this amount. I want a job that pays that amount that requires, for instance, let's say some college but no degree. And I want a job that's going to either A, give me an apprenticeship, some training, no training. In this case, I'll do on-the-job training. You might say, I want to work in a job that has this number of new jobs in it, or you may just leave it just the way that it is. Or you could say, I want to work in a job that has, you know, a growth percentage of 20 to 29%. And when you click on Go, you'll find that this database comes back with that information if it is available. With more filtering criteria, the less data you're likely to get. Now, if you did a search and you did something like I did, and you came back with no results, you really need to filter that information. So in this particular case, I might say, okay, give me a job that has an associate's degree, and you can see certain occupations begin to show up that meet that criteria. Because when I chose high school diploma or equivalent, there's nothing paying that meets the criteria that I selected from this database. So in this case, I say, okay, well, show me occupations that have a bachelor's degree that have moderate on-the-job training, and you know, I get nothing. But if I said something that has short-term job training, I still get nothing. and then I say, okay, that have no type of training. So when I do that, I get some information back. So that part can be helpful for that area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to where we were in the beginning, but I just wanted to show you how the filtering criteria worked. The other thing that you have available on this page is, I'm going to skip a section and I'll come back. In the area that says Browse Occupations, if you just want to focus on the highest paying occupations, you could click on that and it's going to show you the highest paying occupations that are available. And you can look over here to the left in order to see the information in terms of the job title. You can look in the middle to see what their pay is. If you wanted to look at that particular information, let's say you want to look at the anesthesiologist, you could click on that. And what this database does is it gives you a summary of that particular position. You can get into more details by clicking on what they do, and then they'll spell it out. You can look at the work environment to see what that's like. You can discover how to become one. They'll even tell you what the pay range is, typically low, medium to high. You can look at the job outlook for the future, you know, what are the projections for that particular position. And you can find related jobs that use similar knowledge, skills, and abilities. So you can look at that as well. And then if you want more information, if it's available, they'll give you some other contacts, typically professional organizations that you can research, and they'll tell you other resources that you can look at for more information as well. If you want the whole page, I do recommend that you click up here to where it says printer friendly. You don't have to print it out. The good thing is, though, it gives you all that information in one page, so you don't have to keep navigating from one location to the other. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to go back to the section that we were in a few minutes ago. If you're looking for occupations that are growing the fastest, you can click that. If you're looking at the ones that have the most number of new jobs, you can look at that. I think that this can be very helpful, so that if you do need to transition into a new occupation prior to being laid off, this is something that you can certainly consider. And one of the other things that I would also recommend is trying to figure out what you want to be. So if you're looking for additional research information about a particular position, what you can do is you could pick the title. So if I said I want to be a nurse, I could click on N. If I said that I wanted to be a firefighter, I would have clicked on F. Basically, for nurse, I'm having a hard time trying to see what kind of nurse. So if I came down here, I can see there are all kinds of categories for nurses. And what we see is, if I said nurse, and that's what I want to be, it says, hey, you need to go to registered nurses. What you can do is just click on the hyperlink, and it's going to jump to that section. And you can see that this is the area that you would begin to get more data on. And just like I did before, you would just navigate to the different areas, apologize for that, the different areas, so that you can see the data that's pertinent to what you're trying to find out. And this way you can get the opportunity to explore that occupation. Don't forget that you can click on printer friendly, so that you'll have the opportunity to look at everything from like a one-stop location without having to do all that navigation. So that's the tool that I recommend from NC Live, which is bls.gov. And keep in mind, you can just type in bls.gov on your own without having to go to NC Live. That is a database that is accessible from the web. It is not a North Carolina specific tool, and it is one that can be used by everybody. If you're an individual trying to explore technical education, you'll notice that they have information in this section which deals with ProQuest. You could go to the ProQuest General Database in NC Live and look this information up, but you do have the option of looking at this resource and just going to that specific section. So if you're interested in computer science, healthcare, building trades, auto mechanics, sales and retail, accounting, graphic design, and photography, you just click on ProQuest Career and Technical Education. And what will happen here is you'll notice the different areas that you have access to. And what you can do is try to figure out, you know, is my particular field in here? Again, make sure that you click on full text. And if you were trying to explore the accounting industry, you can just press enter. And when you come in here, you can see very quickly that there's well over 100,000 articles in here. I would highly recommend at this point that you try to figure out what you need to do in order to narrow your search criteria. One of the things certainly is to come up here to advance and then narrow it. Or you can look at this section for related searches and say, okay, I'm looking at accounting and software packages. So you could click on that in order to narrow your search. And you'll notice that it comes back with 178 results, and that's because the filtering criteria that I used was very helpful in giving me the information that I needed. As I said early on, you can sort the results by the relevance publication date from newest to oldest, and then of course you can use these guides over here on the right to help you narrow what you're looking for. More specifically, when there is an article that you're interested in, let's say you're looking at best software supporting the accountant, you can come in here and right click and say open full text PDF. I find that to be the most helpful because I can read all of that information in one spot. I don't want to waste my time with articles that don't give me all the information that I need. So in this case, I'm waiting for it to load the PDF, and once that particular part finishes, then we'll go ahead and move forward. So you can see it went ahead and loaded the data. If I wanted to read this information, I could, and then I could move forward. One thing that I do want to point out, when you're in this database, you do have the opportunity to say, you know, I did a search. I want to have the ability to create an alert. And this alert will allow you to get this information about that specific topic related to the occupation, and they'll email it to you. So one, you could actually name the alert, so it could be like accounting software. I'm just making something up. You could say send to, and then you put in your email address. And you can basically get here in step 3 and leave the defaults like they are, or tell it what they can add, what they should send to you. And you could say how often you want to receive these updates, and then you create it. And that way you'll be notified, and then you can get that information sent to you so that you don't have to actively track it all the time. So it's like having a little assistant on the side. So that's it for that resource to get more information about your industry. Another tool that I would recommend is ProQuest Entrepreneurship. So I would recommend that you go in and look at that particular database. One of the things that I will say is it's going to give you information about how to start up a business plan, how to create one. It'll give you video clips, journals, business cases, and other resources. And so when you come in here, you can see the different types of information that's available. You could do a show all, but basically you can do a basic search and make sure you do a search on the full topic for whatever it is that you're interested in. They point out that when you're in here that you do have the opportunity to get information that can be useful to you as an educator, a researcher, a student, or someone that's in the field. You can get journalistic information, dissertations. You can also get case studies. If there have been conferences and that information has been shared in here, it'll be available. They even give you guides and templates, forms, business plans, videos, different things that you can use. So I would highly recommend that you come in here and you type in the topic. So if you were interested in web design, you'll notice I typed that in. They began to help me. So I would say slow down your typing so that the system can make suggestions and you can see what other people have searched for in order for you to be more successful in obtaining the information that may be of interest to you. Now, one thing I would highly recommend, one, is to be on full text, and then two, to actually think about different ways that you can narrow your search criteria. And sometimes using the Boolean operator and. So you might want to say, okay, I want to search for web design and color, because maybe color is of interest to you. And then when you press enter, you'll notice that you've gone to 5,610 articles, and then they highlight those particular words on the page. And then of course you can go in and open up that article. Don't forget that while my article is opening up at the top, don't forget that on the right you still have your filtering criteria to help you be more successful in looking for or locating the information that's important to you. Now, this should be opening up very quickly. The good thing is you're getting that PDF so that you can have the information that you need to research whatever is important to you. So that's how that resource is important. So I'm going to close out of here and I'm going to go back to this main screen. The last resource I'm going to share on this page deals with Reference USA. Reference USA can allow you to gather information on businesses, people that live in the United States if their data is in this database. You can get news articles, information on executives, and so forth. So I would recommend that you click on Reference USA. I'm going to do a very brief introduction to it. Some of the information that's in here can be very useful so that you can get a better understanding of which companies may be available that allow you to target those specific employers. So if you want to take a tour, they'll give you a tutorial. In this particular case, I've logged in. If my goal is to locate new U.S. businesses, I can, or if I want to look for a specific U.S. business, I can do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on U.S. businesses, and I have to enter in the filter criteria that I'm looking for. So if I'm looking for something like United Parcel Service, and I'm looking for that particular company, I could either just click View Results and see what comes up, or I could use the filter criteria that I saw a few minutes ago. So when that comes back, it's giving me information all over the United States, and I can see the different phone numbers that are available. Furthermore, I can see that there were 62 results, and it tells me 4 of those had emails. So if I was interested in that information, I could click on that, and it points out that, you know, that information can't be output in this resource, but I want to let you know that in some instances that is a resource that is available. So here you can see that we have United Parcel Service. What I'm going to do is go back. If you wanted to filter that and to basically say, I'm looking for United Parcel Service in North Carolina. More specifically, I'm looking for them in Raleigh, North Carolina. Then you could type in that and then click View Results. And you can see how it comes back with nothing. So I'm going to click on OK, and I'm just going to take out Raleigh, and I'm going to click View Results. Sometimes more information yields fewer results. What I see here is something for United Parcel Service. Honestly, for me, that may not be as helpful, but I'm going to play along just so you can see what information is available. So you could come in here and you could click on United Parcel Service. And what it's going to do is give you that company information. And you'll notice that if there are any job listings that this database is aware of, those job listings will appear in here. And if you want to apply for those jobs in here, you can. The other thing is you have the ability to look at all of this information that's over here and available on the left. I click Expand. The other thing I want to point out is that each industry has its own specific code. So if you type in a particular company name, I would try and find other companies like it by finding the NAICS code. So if I want to work for other messengers or delivery service companies, I would say, okay, that NAICS code is 492210, and that'll let you drill down and find other companies like that. It's giving information on the location, how many employees they have, and other financial data. You can see that they have a manager that's listed here. That person may or may not still live there. If there's company news available, you could click on that and you could ask the system to load it. So we'll wait and see what we get back while that's happening. It says no news is available. And then you can take a look at other historical data, financial data, and so forth. So I would recommend that you come in and you look at this, and you do have the opportunity to download the information that's in here. And you can, most of the time, I would recommend that you do it inside of an Excel or a comma delimited file so that you can have that. So I'm going to go backwards. If I was starting over with a search like this again, one of the things that I might recommend doing is to come in here and again do another U.S. business search. In this case, I might want to do a custom search. And I chose custom search because I can be more specific. Over here to the right, I can see how many businesses should be in here and how many email addresses should be in here. More specifically, I'm looking for a specific type of business, so I click on business type. And here's where I can say a major industry group. And by clicking on that, now I can look to the right and I can start saying, okay, if I'm looking for the education sector, then I'm probably going to click on something like services. And when you click on services, you'll notice that in this area, I see that there's something here called educational services. So I can click on services and then I can say, okay, I'm interested in educational services. You can keep clicking the plus sign so that you can drill down. It'll let you narrow the specific area of interest to you. So if I want to take that off, and let's say I want to focus primarily on junior colleges and technical institutes, I could. And at this point, I can say, okay, back over to the left, I can say, okay, show me a certain geographical area. I might be looking for a specific county or a radius. Here are your filtering criteria, so look at that. So I want to look at a specific county. And at this point, when I scroll down to the middle, I'm going to look specifically at the state of North Carolina. And I really want to look for Wake County because that's where I'm interested in exploring. And you'll notice that it'll let you add multiples if you want. So I don't really want that, so I'm going to hit clear. So I'll go back and do North Carolina again. And again, I'll do Wake. So that's going to be my selection. If I want it to be a specific business size, I could do that. I don't. If I need special selections, I can actually do that. I could say, okay, show me the ones that have web addresses. And I notice that web addresses have been added. When I look at that, I can say, show me only companies with web addresses or show me companies without a web address. I'm going to say only ones with, and that's only because I'm tinkering around right here. You can actually do more search criteria over to the left side, home-based businesses, financial information, credit ratings, and so forth. Even ones that give you data about, executives or company names. But when you're done, look over to the right. Out of all of these records, what you would do is click View Results. And I can see that there were 40, and it says that 14 of those had emails. You can actually take some of this data and go back and plug it inside of LinkedIn in order to people search and try to figure out how to make connections and so forth. In this instance, I can see that this page has 40 different results. There are 2 pages. And so if I decided that I wanted to explore this information, let's say I'm looking at this, I'm going to look more specifically for a particular type of school. Let's say I'm looking for the University of Phoenix. I'm curious about them. So I click on the University of Phoenix. If I want to explore that, then I do have the opportunity to get more detail based on what's available. And I can see here that they're hiring and by posting some jobs on Indeed. That doesn't mean you're going to always find that, but use this information to get more data on a company to try to figure out who you can reach out to. I don't have to point out all the different things that you can do. But whatever information is present or available, it will be in here. It may not always have the information that you want, but do keep in mind that the database can provide useful information that you just didn't think of before. So I'm going to go backwards again. And one thing that I will say is if you decide that you want to download this information, you can just click at the top for the data that you want to download. And in this case, if I want to download that, I selected both pages. What you could do is click download, and it'll give you the ability to download whatever file you want. In this case, I'll do a comma delimited field, and then you can tell it what it is that you want it to include. It could be all the data, it could be a summary of the data. I'm just going to leave it just like this, and I'm going to say download records. And when this happens, it tells me that the file's been downloaded. I open it up to see what information is present. And when I do, I'm just going to click on this to expand it. I get really excited because now I notice that I got all 40 records, and I get information about the different types of positions. And so you can really start working this list for whatever reason you want. You have the phone numbers. If other additional information is present, that will be in here as well. So use that type of tool in order to get more information for your employment search. Now I'm going to turn my attention now to a couple of other resources that can be very helpful in your job search. One of them that can be helpful to you is ONET. So you could type in just ONET Online. ONET Online, when you click on that particular tool, will provide a resource that's comparable to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics that we saw earlier, or BLS. And this particular tool can be useful because when you look here, what you'll find is that when I highlight Find Occupations, if I look in this section, I can look at the most rapidly growing occupations in the United States between the year typically 2012 through 2022. Normally it's a 10-year period, and that range may have moved. But if I click on Bright Outlook, then I can find all of the Bright Outlook occupations and click on Go. And they'll list them all in here so you can come in and explore it. They do a really good job of pointing out that you can look for jobs that are growing by 22% or more, or jobs that are high growth because they have over 100,000 job openings across the United States, or it could be just a new and emerging occupation. And so I would recommend that you come in and you select Bright Outlook if you want to do that. If you want to look at jobs in different industries or different categories, I would suggest that you consider Career Cluster. Career Cluster breaks this down into 16 different categories, basically allowing you to wrap your arms around all of the occupations, so to speak. And what it does is it gives you the opportunity to say, okay, I want to work in education. If you want to work in education, you click on that, and when you click on Go, what it'll do is on the left, it'll break that occupation down into different groups. So maybe you want to work in education and training, but yet you want to focus on administrative support, or maybe you want to focus on teaching and training. This database does a really good job of just basically saying, hey, here are occupations that fall under that group. Because if you want to deal with administrative support, then they have some different areas for you to consider. The other thing that I want to say is anytime that you see a bright sunshine, that means that that is a high growth occupation because it meets one of the criteria that we talked about earlier for Bright Outlook. I won't cover everything that's in here. I highly recommend that you do come in here and look at this site. One area I want to focus on though is Job Zone. What happens is in the United States, occupations are typically classified into one of 5 categories. And basically, if it is a one type of a job that's classified in the one job zone, what basically is being said is that that job needs zero or very little preparation. And so in that particular instance, you could say, okay, show me those jobs that need very little preparation. And so when you click on Go, those occupations come back. And when we start to look at it and study it in depth, we quickly realize that, hey, it really does match exactly what it said. What if you were looking for an occupation that possibly needed maybe an associate's degree? So then maybe it needs a job zone 3, and you're looking for those occupations. When you click on Go, you may notice that some of these occupations, like a bus or truck mechanic, when you click on it, when you look at that occupation and explore it, by examining the report, you can actually go to the education area, and what it'll do is it'll tell you what's necessary for that occupation. And here you can see that they just need a little bit of post-secondary work, a little bit of work after high school, and most of the people that are in this field actually have either a high school diploma or they have less than a high school diploma. And so that's why you would really want to consider the job zone, because it could be that you're at a point in your life where you don't want to go back to school and you want to say, okay, hey, I have like a bachelor's degree. Show me some school that may need some occupation that may need considerable preparation. You know, what might I need to consider? And when you click on Go, then you just go in and you select it. Let's say you're looking to be an art director. in that particular instance, you would just select education, and when you look down here, you can see that most of the people in that field actually have a bachelor's degree. Now, one thing I will say, for individuals that are looking to go into a field, maybe they have a graduate degree, oftentimes when you click on the job zone 5, this job needs extensive preparation. And when you have these types of positions, you normally have at least a graduate level degree plus somewhere between, I think it says typically 3 to 5 years experience. And so when you click on go, the question becomes, what occupations are those? And so when we start scanning this, we can see, astronomers, if you're actually looking at chief executives, these people typically have extensive schooling as well as work experience. So when I click on chief executive, for example, I can quickly see, what titles fall under that, under sample of reported job titles. Furthermore, if I click on education, I have the opportunity to come in here and see, okay, that field normally, for most people, they have a master's degree, so that's that graduate level degree that I was talking about earlier, plus they have some years of training. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back for just a second in order for you to basically see. Let me go back to the main page. I'm going to go back to ONET Online. I want you to basically see that there are other areas that you can explore, and you can go into the advanced search. It could be that you're looking for a particular job, so you can use a specific ability. Maybe you're the kind of person who's gone in and taken an assessment test to find out what are you interested in. So if I clicked on interests, and let's say I have a very highly investigative type of personality, the question becomes, what positions are recommended for me? I could tell you, hey, I'm the kind of person where I'm highly investigative and I'm also interested in having my own business. If that was the case, I would click on investigative. It doesn't matter which one. And what I would notice is I have 3 different sections. So I'm saying, okay, I'm investigative. It gives you recommendations for that investigative personality type. Furthermore, it breaks it down into those job zones. So basically, I can look at, becoming a bicycle repairer. That job needs little preparation because of the job zone it falls under. Or I could add on another criteria, which is going to give me fewer jobs, because right now there are 83 occupations recommended. However, when I add in another criteria such as enterprising, when I click on that and select go, I should get fewer job results. In fact, I do. Now I have 60. And that's because now it's more narrowed, because it's saying, okay, show me jobs where they're investigative as well as enterprising or entrepreneurial at the same time. And when I look at that, I quickly find out that, hey, there's nothing in here that is even falling in the job zone 1 or 2. Those positions started at job zone 3, 4, and 5. So with that, then I start saying, oh, paralegal, we know that takes a little more preparation. So use this particular area. I'm going to go back to ONET again. Use this particular area in terms of interests in order to narrow your focus. If you're looking for a field where you get to use a certain type of knowledge, you may want to click on knowledge and then say, okay, I know about these things. Tell me the occupations that fall in that area. So if you know about customer and personal service, when you click on that, they're showing you the ones at the top that really rely on that customer service. I know this is kind of morbid, but this is what we get when we're looking at that area. So use this as a guide in order to find those areas that are of interest to you. So I'm going to go back to ONET Online again. Furthermore, some people actually work or prefer to work in environments where certain values are held. So I click on work values, and if that person says, relationships are very important to me, I want to work in an occupation where I can focus on those relationships. You can click on relationships, and what happens is it starts showing you jobs where relationships are really important to that particular occupation. So ONET Online is like a wealth of information that gives you a variety of opportunities to search for positions through a variety of ways. And another thing that you can also do is just click on Tools and Technology. When you come in here, you might say, okay, I want to find positions where I can use PowerPoint. And so you type that in, and you start looking at those positions because you're saying, what occupations are those? And they say, hey, these positions get to use presentation software fairly often, and they're showing you the top few. But you could also click Show All 383 Occupations in order to see more of those occupations that tend to rely on that particular software. So think about software or tools that you've used in your life. Go and do a search for that tool in order to see what occupations fall in that area. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do is go to crosswalks, and one of the favorite ones I like to explore really deals with education. So here's why. In the educational area, we often have people who have degrees in certain fields. And so I recommend that they just type in the title of the degree in here. So if I had a degree in business education, the question becomes, what occupations can I apply my degree towards? What can I consider? And it's pretty neat because it comes back with some suggestions. In my case, 104 different titles. Some of these fields I have worked in, and it's pretty exciting because it also presents opportunities that I just never thought of. So here you can see that there are some that have the sunshine, which means it's a bright outlook or a high growth occupation. So that is the coverage that I wanted to give basically for ONET Online, but I want to show you one more tool that most people typically use. Over here to the right, there's something called Occupation Quick Search. And so what I recommend is that people type in the title for what they're looking for. I'm going to start off with secretary. I know that language is outdated. Most of those people today are called administrative assistants, but we tend to type in what we know. This database is very user-friendly in that it allows you to type in the keyword that you know, and then it'll give some recommendations for positions that it believes to be what you're looking for. So in this area, I'm looking more specifically for administrative assistants, and it happens to be the third one. And I'm going to click on administrative assistants here. And this one isn't the entry-level position, so I may want to go back to occupation search and literally type in administrative assistant and see if I could get more of what I'm looking for, and I did. Secretaries and administrative assistants. So I'm going to click on that. And this gives you a report. Now, oftentimes these reports run somewhere between 7 to maybe even 19 pages. The nice thing is it gives you detailed information that you can use in your job search. You can get an overall idea from looking at the summary area of what this position does. Here are other job titles that you could do a search for. So if you're looking for a job, you're not having any luck finding it on, let's say, Indeed or LinkedIn, I would recommend that you consider some other titles that other employers use to describe that very same position. Secondly, we're going to look at the summary report. There are 3 report types, and more specifically, summary report is going to give you an overall idea of the position. But if you go to details and click on the details report, it will actually give you an idea of what tasks numerically are important to that position and how much they are important to that position because it quantifies it with a number. So you can do that same thing as it relates to knowledge. You know, it tells you clerical knowledge is really essential to being an administrative assistant. Furthermore, if I'm looking at tasks, you're going to use computers a lot, you're going to answer the phone a lot, you'll be creating and maintaining information into databases. So I'm going to go back to summary, but I just wanted to show you an idea, or show you a little bit of what is available in the details section to give you an idea of what you can use it for. Moving down a little bit further, one of the things that I can say is that if you're in the process of creating a resume, you may consider the different tasks, tools, knowledge, skills, and abilities information, because those keywords can be essential in constructing a resume. And these tools, one of the things that I can say is that you may find that there are tools in here that you may need to either A, use in preparation for the resume, or B, use in preparation for the interview. So keep that part in mind. As I move down a little bit further, I won't go into everything, but basically, if you're trying to figure out what you're going to do in your job, basically every day, the work context, what's involved, is basically telling you 86% of the time, hey, you're going to be in contact with other people. You'll notice here too that the job zones, they give you information about it, tell you how much preparation is needed. You'll get an idea of what most people have as it relates to that field in terms of education. If you want to get training on this job, you can click on Find Training. You can look to find certifications for this particular field. And then if there's an apprenticeship available, that information will be here as well. Most people have a certain personality type that's really suited for each occupation. This occupation says these people need to be really good at being conventional people and enterprising. Conventional in the sense that they want to work within the guidelines, the rules, and enterprising in the sense that they're motivated, they're self-starters, and they don't need a whole lot of people to push them in order to get them motivated to do their job. And then it talks about what's necessary to be successful in this job. We know they need to be highly attentive to detail, they need to have integrity, they need to be dependable because they're helping to support other people. And then we get into work values. You know, what's important to a person who's in this position. This person likes to help people. They like to provide support. They like to work with others in terms of team building and building relationships, and they are also the kind of people that have occupations that provide job security. And so I do need to change one thing here by saying that we know that in today's society, it isn't necessarily so that you're going to have job security, because the world is constantly changing, the marketplace is quickly evolving, and really there is no such thing as job security. Now, if the person is interested in exploring other occupations with similar knowledge, skills, and abilities, this particular site gives you related occupations. It does a good job of providing salary information, so you'll have an overall idea of what's available. If there are job openings present, you can click Find Jobs and it'll tap into that resource. And this database also does pulling of information from BLS, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, which I talked about a little bit earlier in this video. So I find this tool to be very helpful, and I would highly recommend that one come in and take a look at ONET Online for that purpose. I would recommend that you go to Google. I would recommend that when you get to that location that you type in Career One Stop, 2 separate words. I think this is an excellent tool in helping with the job search, because it has basically a host of tools to help you be successful. So I'm going to click on Career One Stop, and one of the things that I'm going to say here is that you can use this website so that you could explore other careers, you could find training, you could do job searching if you want it, and you could also get help in your local area. If I hover here, you'll quickly notice that you can explore careers, and this was actually a good resource for the individual that's not certain or sure about what they want to do, and so they can actually come in here and take self-assessments in order to figure out what may be a good fit for them. If the person wants to look at specific careers, they can come in here and research specific industries, oftentimes by state. If they want to plan for a different career, they can set their career goals, look at salaries, and then try to discover information about professional development. Here is where you can get training, and this is where it'll point you to different resources for different kinds of training depending on where you are in your life. You can figure out, hey, what's available out there to help me pay for training, and then this will help you get on the path that you desire based on what you've decided on. I'm going to end with this particular one, which is called Job Search. Job Search provides a lot of resources to help an individual get started with planning their job search, trying to network, find jobs, create resumes, do interviewing and negotiating, and job tips. And I found that this site has a host of information, and it is extremely beneficial. And I can't talk enough about how great the resources are here. So I encourage you to come out and explore, for example, resumes. A lot of people have difficulty constructing those. To me, this site does a wonderful job of walking you through that process step by step. It talks about branding. It talks about what you need to do in order for you to get noticed. If you clicked on Resume Guide in the middle, it will literally walk you through step by step through each one of these processes, and it'll give you sample resumes along the way. It'll tell you how to market your resume in addition to writing it. It'll tell you how to do cover letters, how to network it, get it in the right places for job fairs, and so forth. So for me, again, I think this job search section is just absolutely fantastic, and I recommend that you go in and consider the job search feature. Another one is Toolkit. If you click on Toolkit, Toolkit is actually giving you quite a few resources that you can use in a variety of ways. And to me, this is like a one-stop shop. If you are interested in careers dealing with specific areas, let's say you want to look at green careers, or you want to see the fastest growing occupations, or which ones have the largest employment, you can right-click or just click to open up some of these items. So if I'm looking at which areas have the largest employment and I want to explore that, basically it's saying occupation with the largest employment based on degree. You can say some college and click continue. And what you'll notice is it'll give you oftentimes up to 50 results. You can see what those are. And this is across the United States. The ones that have more of these green areas, like if you see 4 pays far more, obviously, than one that has a 1 or 2. And then if you hover over it, it'll tell you the salaries. So, the ones with 3 pay between $34,760 to $56,120. If you wanted to try and narrow your criteria. Let's say you want to look at a specific state. You could select the state to say, okay, what's the largest area of employment? In this case, I could choose Louisiana and click continue, and it'll let me explore and find out what are the largest areas of employment, and I can see the ones that relate to Louisiana. So if I was moving to that state, this could be very helpful information. If you go back to Toolkit and you wanted to find the fastest growing occupations or which jobs have the most openings in a particular state, you could do that. Here we narrow search to say, okay, I have some college and I'm looking for the fastest growing occupations with some college. In this instance, I could come in and I could quickly see, they give a recommendation for 36 different areas. The challenge here is that this again is across the United States. You get an idea of the pay and so forth, and they tell you about the education. So examine this page in more detail. But I would just recommend that you also come in here to the state, select a state, narrow it. So if you're interested in exploring Florida, when you click continue, then you can come in here and you can see which are the fastest growing occupations as it relates to Florida. So it'll give you something to consider, and if you're interested in going back to get some more schooling, then you know what fields to explore. Now, one of the things that I would recommend too is to go to the toolkit and go to for careers, take a look at the ones that have the most openings. And the reason that I think that that is important, like right here, is because most people move to an area before they explore the field, and this can be very helpful in allowing the opportunity to get the data and then make a decision before you even get there, so you don't waste money and time. So I want to click some college again, I want to click continue, and in this instance I can see which jobs have the most openings across the United States. Now if I want to narrow it by state, I click on select state again. This time I'll choose Delaware. I have no idea about Delaware, but when I click on continue, I see which areas have the most openings for that particular state. So I highly recommend that you explore that. Let's move forward and take a look at Toolkit. I won't cover everything, but basically when you go to Toolkit, you might say, okay, show me the fastest growing industries. Just explore this information to get an idea of what's going on. If it's home and healthcare services, you can click it. It'll allow you the opportunity to get more detail about that field, and the list just goes on and on and on. So those are the resources that I highly recommend that you used for the employment search, and I hope you can find that they're very beneficial for you. If you find that you have questions, please feel free to let me know.